Agitatorium nostrum in Domini Domini. So we're halfway through Bishop Williamson's chart on Freemasonry. We're at verse 20 of his breakdown. These are the excellent summaries Bishop Williamson was just an expert at. He's taking a whole encyclical and just condensing it to a schemata, a whole program right before your eyes. It's a wonderful gift that he had. And here it is. So we're looking at the evil of Freemasonry, the evil practice. So we saw the evil principles, right? They want to promote separation of church and state, religious indifferentism. There's no objective truth. All natural truths, naturalism. So now we're looking at still the engine of what Freemasonry is, the evil practice at the individual level, immorality, 19. Gavril?
Thus destroying all morality, foundations in dogma and truth, they unleash a deplorable immorality.
Yeah, they unleash immorality because they want divorce. You allow divorce, you legalize it, and then it's a breakdown of the family. It's a total collapse. And from that rises feminism, from that rises delinquent children, street gangs, boys becoming effeminate, girls becoming masculine, all the disasters that come from divorce. And not that every child from a divorced home is a wreck. Many of them survive and come out even very good. But overall, it's deplorable in most cases. It's so sad. And that's Freemasonry. They want legalized divorce, they want legalized abortion, and the unspeakable crime of abortion, just absolutely horrifying that our country can be killing our own babies. As I've told you before, when I was in the Philippines visiting years ago with Father Pfeiffer, when he was still fighting the good fight, it struck me everywhere you go, even in the country, in the jungles, there was just children everywhere. Always children playing, children running around, young, babies, toddlers, adolescents, lots of youth. Shopping malls, which are extremely fancy over there, are just tons of children, tons of kids, families. Beautiful to see. And then to his shame, Pope Francis visited in 16, 17, or 18. Pope Francis visited the Philippines and mocked the large families by saying, oh, there's no need to multiply like rabbits. So he's going to have a lot to pay for that. Because of that comment, contraception no doubt has become more practiced in the Philippines. Just from that one comment, it's a serious scandal. He's going to pay for that. Anyway, so the immorality. So here in the United States, you drive through any town. Now we have tons of ghost towns. There's nobody but old people. And there's not many children. You don't see many children running the streets in a good way, playing. You don't see many children. Because why? Even here, a little town of Wentworth, you don't see any children. Why? Because they're all contracepted or aborted. It's really sick. It's really twisted when you think of it. Joe Mullen, he has a big family, and one of his boys, Joseph, came to school in Syracuse when I was there. A good kid and good family. And Joe Mullen, he wrote a song. I'll have to play it for you sometime. It's called The Ghosts of the Playground. The Ghosts of the Playground. And he talks about, the American rural towns and cities. You used to always see children playing and running around. All the people in the 40s and 50s, they tell me, Yeah, it was very common. Even in our day, even in my day, in the 70s and 80s, there were always kids playing in the streets, even in my day. But now, you don't see many children. Granted, partly because they're all on video games, but also because most of them have been killed off or blocked. It's a horrifying thing when you think of it. Just absolutely horrific that we kill our own. And the demons in the Freemasonic lodges are laughing at the Goyim who swallow their immorality, swallow their corruption. You know, all this birth control stuff should be banned from the stores, banned. And filthy magazines should be banned. All this should be banned. But that's what happens when you don't get a Catholic state. You get a state neutral on matters of religion. All immorality is permitted. The only immorality they don't like is violence. That's the only evil in the modern world is violence. So someone who gets angry, who shows some physical force, that's the worst evil. So they feminize men in a horrific way. All right, licentiousness, 20, Guadalupe.
And by denying original sin and exaggerating natural goodness, they craftily promote licentiousness.
Yes, licentiousness, which is no restrictions. Basically, do what you want, dress as you want, act as you want, say what you want, just don't be violent. That's the only evil, again, in the modern world. Anyone who shows violence. But violence is not evil. The misuse of it is, but violence is not evil. Sometimes violence is necessary. Police have to use sometimes violence to calm a bunch of thugs. Violence is not the worst of evils. It has a place. And spankings in the home for disobedient children is necessary. But even the modern liberal governments have sought this. And anyone who is seen publicly spanking their children, correcting them because they're a little brat, they can call the police and the police can take the children. It's really evil. And then they go through all these horrible courts which are built to destroy the family. And they just make it miserable for these good-hearted and good-willing couples. Granted, is there abuse in some homes and the parents are off their rocket and they overly abuse their children and are overly punishing or over severe or overly violent? Okay, yeah, that happens. But it doesn't mean every spanking is evil. It's just the modern world has no balance because it doesn't have the Catholic faith. The family, dissolution, dissolving of the family. 21, by laicizing marriage, they dissolve the family. By laicizing education, they demoralize the young. So if you think, really, that you just come from apes, and you're just another amoeba inhabiting the earth with other species, you talk about demoralizing. You talk about demoralizing and bringing a dark world to the youth. That's it. The lie of evolution, the lie of atheism, the lie of these Freemasons that all religions are many paths to God, which basically equates to religion is a joke. Children are not that stupid. They see through that. So life just becomes party it up. Just all that matters in life is please your senses, please everything in your senses. That's why they often go into drugs. They want more pleasure, more high. And the poor things. And then they drop to a very great low because the heart is made for God and not for this world. And how many commit suicide? The suicide rate among adolescents and young men and women is horrifying. It's one of the top killers. Liberalism, so society, the evil practice of Freemasonry at the level of society, you have the division of liberalism and communism. So people think communism is the only evil, but liberalism is the other arm of the lodge. 22, Gavril.
In politics, they promote libertarianism, egalitarianism,
Democratism.
democratism, and the godless state.
Yes, we saw that the false liberty, false equality, false democracy, authority, we the people, for the people, by the people, that's all condemned by the natural law and by the church. So we love our country, but we don't love what's against God in our country, and that's why Catholics are the true patriots. We want the reign of the Sacred Heart of Jesus over our nation. That's it, period. And we got to fight for that. Priests have to preach this. Fathers have to do all they can to promote this. And you have to admit, the first defender of the reign of Christ the King in this whole dark crisis was Archbishop Lefebvre. He's the only one that spoke this way. Not even Bishop Sheen spoke this way. He's the only one. And it's because of Archbishop Lefebvre you got more and more people of the Christ the King Institute promoting the kingship of Christ, TFP promoting the kingship of Christ, Michael Matt promoting the kingship of Christ, all these indult groups like St. Peter's, more and more they're speaking of the social reign of Christ the King, which is a good effect of Archbishop Lefebvre. And the popes, of course, who have their encyclicals were buried for hundreds of years. So really, if any of them see and want, and at least see the good of the reign of the Sacred Heart of Jesus in the United States and Canada, it's thanks to Archbishop Lefebvre. They got to admit that. He's the only one that stood up to Rome. You have no right to uncrown Christ the King. So, but who's behind the destruction of society? The Freemasons. And under liberty is liberty of the press, to print what they want, put any videos, any filth on internet, that should be censored by the state. It must be censored by the state. But the evil governments like pornography because it weakens men, destroys them, degrades them, and it perverts the youth. Poor, poor little ones, scandalized. There'll be a lot of these Zuckerbergs in hell. A lot of them. A lot of these people in hell. Teachers and these pro-transgender stuff. There'll be a lot of them burning in hell, screaming their hatred of God for all eternity. And they hate God. They always hate God. They hate Him because God forbids what they're calling good, God calls evil. Communism is also one of the arms of the Lodge. 23, Guadalupe.
Thus, Freemasons are paving the way for the total destruction of rank and property. Communism.
Yeah, destroy rank. That is, destroy hierarchy. Destroy hierarchy. Build a huge hatred to kings, to anyone in authority. You have to portray all authority as evil. Hollywood has been doing this to fatherhood for 80 years, bashing the father of the family as a goofball, as an idiot, as an airhead, as a wimp. And the women, of course, have to rise up and make the big decisions and save the day. That's on all the movies now. And now it's much worse. The women rise up and beat up all the guys. So Wonder Woman and all those like her, they enter into the military or some strong force, and they fight and slice guys in half, and it's just a joke. What a ruin to the woman. And of course the feminists gobble it all up, and poor girls, just ruined. They have girls wrestling, which should be banned. They should not be wrestling. That's not their place on mats in the public. It's not the woman's place, period. It's not her role. What does a girl get from being a wrestler or a basketball player or a hockey player when she graduates? She knows nothing about cooking, nothing about sewing, nothing about having children. And most of them don't want children because they're so macho and manly. It's really sick. They've destroyed the woman, this Freemasonic culture. Destroyed her. And you don't even see beautiful women anymore in beautiful dress, hardly anymore. They're all ugly fashions, just foul. And they don't even take care of themselves. Most of them are well overweight. I'm granted there's some physical problems that they can't help in some cases. But some of these girls glory in their shame. They glory in being obese and gross. And even worse is effeminate men. That's the worst. Men who are supposed to be leading, men who are supposed to have their head on straight, have goals, accomplish and desire to accomplish good things, and be men of God, they've become just wimps, aimless wimps. That's the fruit of Freemasonic liberal culture. At least under communism, the hardships of the Gulag made men turn to God. So many did go to heaven in those gulags, in those concentration camps. And there were thousands all throughout Ukraine and Russia under Stalin. Thousands of them. There was one island where they had to resort to cannibalism. There was just nothing else to eat. It was horrifying. So at least under Stalinistic communism, many still went to heaven because, as Solzhenitsyn said, when there's nothing but misery in their camp and only yellow snow and they're freezing and all they have is the future of death to look forward to, they turn to God. Many of them turned to God and died well. And many priests, many bishops were sent to the gulags as well. So they influenced many other souls to turn to God. So the devil doesn't like the old Stalinistic communism. He doesn't like it so much because still too many get to heaven. But he does like the liberal communism now, where everybody has an abundance of material things, pleasure at the fingertips, pornography at the fingertips, drugs at the fingertips, divorce is legalized, remarriage. It's not a big deal if you get married or shack up without even being married. Nobody's scandalized anymore with that. Abortion, well, that's just normal life. Killing your baby, it's just a blob anyway, they say. So horrible. That's Masonic culture. And more go to hell because of it. Verdict, the folly and danger. Folly is Neopaganism, 24.
This worse than repaganizing of the individual family and society is criminal folly.
Yeah, so the Pope, it's a new form of paganism. It's living without God as individuals, as families, as a society. It's national apostasy. That's what it is. Democratism is also a folly, 25.
For instance, that the people may withdraw their civic obedience when they like is completely false.
Yeah. Yes. Egalitarianism, 26.
Similarly, to impose artificial equality all around on man's natural inequalities is wholly unreasonable.
Yeah, it's a denial of nature. This fake equality. Everybody's absolutely equal. It's just so unreal. Communism, 27. The danger of of Freemasonry. For instance,
by promoting these errors, Freemasonry is favoring the overthrow of all things by communism and socialism.
Yeah, so as he said before, take away all property, take away all hierarchy, and you're left with just a pile of ashes fighting each other. Deceit, 28. In truth, Freemasonry has deluded the rulers and deceived the people, turning them against Christianity. And that's happening now. More and more persecution of Christianity, more and more bias against Christianity, prejudice, public jokes, public attacks, blasphemy of Christ's name. It's increasing. And it's the Masonic Judeo-Masons behind it, especially through the media. Anti-Christianity, 29.
Whereas, in fact, peace and concord depend upon the church and upon the rejection of Freemasonry.
Yeah, so notice Leo XIII is saying not a toleration of Freemasonry, which the modern liberals would say, we have to tolerate Freemasonry. No, he's calling we have to publicly reject it. Bishops tear the mask off and warn the youth, stay away from the lodges. Don't fall for their deceitful, cajoling invitations to join the lodge. All right, the remedy for Freemasonry within the church. Firstly, the Pope, 30.
Firstly,
Hence,
we reiterate everything previous popes have done and said against Freemasonry.
yeah, so Leo XIII is just one in a long line of popes condemning Freemasonry. Bishops, unmask the error, 31.
Bishops, tear the mask off of Freemasonry. Show it for what it is. Allow no man to belong to it.
Okay, that's wonderful, this total rejection of it, publicly and privately. That's what the bishops are supposed to be condemning, but you never hear bishops condemn Freemasonry. In the new Code of Canon Law, as you know, of 1983, of Pope John Paul II, lifted the excommunication, so now it's not a big sin. So the Freemasons just laugh. They laugh at the Vatican II fake church. Bishops, teach the truth, 32. Give the people sound instruction in their religion. So, traditional bishops, do we hear you? Crickets, crickets, chirp, chirp, nothing. It's a big crime. These bishops of tradition are going to answer to God for their silence. Yeah, but I preach to my parish. Well, that's not enough. You got to put out letters. You got to put something on the internet, something. Sermons, catechism, do something to reach souls. So they're going to answer a lot for their silence. And I don't know what they're pretending. It's prudence, they say, or humility. It's a false humility, that's for sure, because they're public figures. They're supposed to be teaching the faith. And I know I'm a pain in their neck because I'm always reminding them, you have a duty to teach. Why? Because I see the souls lost and confused, dying in the state of mortal sin, because they haven't heard bishops teach the faith. And Archbishop Lefebvre, it's quite amazing. It really is. He's well before the internet age, yet all over the world everybody knew Archbishop Lefebvre. They could find somewhere his letters, his public stand, his sermons, his conferences. Michael Davies did a great service in his day, putting out his books, the Apologia pro Marcel Lefebvre, which all of you should read at some point of your formation. So notice the popes always get on the bishops, teach the faith publicly, condemn error, tear the mask off. And our traditional bishops, they're sons of Archbishop Lefebvre, and they're not imitating Archbishop Lefebvre. I don't know who they're imitating, and it's not our Lord's instruction nor Archbishop Lefebvre's example. They should at least follow his example. And if they don't know how to teach and they don't know what to say, just quote Archbishop Lefebvre. Quote the Catechism, quote the popes. So, teach the truth, bishops. 32, give the people sound instruction in their religion to immunize them against these wicked errors. And now you get a parish of Indult Mass, St. Peter's, now the new SSPX. You get a whole bunch of priests saying the Latin Mass, yet they don't condemn Vatican II in the new Mass. People don't hear the errors condemned. They are not told of the scandals of Pope Francis and the local diocesan bishops. What happens to the sheep when they don't know a wolf is a wolf?
They become prey for that wolf.
Absolutely. And wolves, when they attack the sheep, they'll get in there low, crawl in between the sheep so they're not visible, and then they gouge them. They take a bite out of their sides, in their ligaments in their legs, to cripple them. So when the sheep realize there's a wolf among us and they start running, they've injured enough sheep that they can't run. And then they feast on them. So when the bishops don't call out the wolf, it's very serious. That's why, I'm not too bothered by the bishops of tradition hating me, because hearing me begging them, even personally, I've gone to several of these traditional bishops, please, can you put out a letter, Your Excellency? Can you please put out some catechism, some sermons, in writing even, and it will spread. The people need to hear a bishop teaching the faith, and we priests need it too. And we hear nothing. So, all right, I don't mind if they hate me and they can't stand me reminding them, but when they die and come before Christ the King, it's going to be a lot harder to take when they hear from him. Because of your silence, millions or these thousands of souls are now in hell. Thanks a lot. I died for them. I ordered you to preach the faith to them. You were too cowardly or shameful or false prudence or whatever it was. Our Lord is not going to be easy on his bishops and priests. He's very strict with priests and bishops and popes. We should tremble at the thought of it. And they need to give more meditation to the day of judgment, to their own particular judgment. Maybe that will snap them out of this liberal silence. So, at least Bishop Vigano is publicly speaking and saying many right things. I don't agree with his sedevacantism, but I understand where he's coming from. And then even Bishop Strickland is, who's right off the new mass cake, the goofy new mass. Yet he's becoming more serious and he's speaking more like a bishop should. So let's keep praying for Bishop Strickland. He would have to be conditionally reconsecrated, and he still can be an immensely good bishop and restore Catholic tradition. So we got to pray for them. But our own traditional bishops, the 6 consecrated by Bishop Williamson, where are they? Where are they? So here's the Pope getting on the bishops. It's your duty to teach. Give the people sound instruction in their religion and immunize them against the wicked errors. And Vatican II is Freemasonry in the bloodstream of the Church. That's what it is. Is it going to be possible to say it's intrinsically evil and a pope may condemn it as intrinsically evil? It's possible. It's possible. But we know it's at least evil because full of errors. 33, clergy and laity.
From your clergy and co-opt the laity so that together they know, love, and defend the church.
Yeah, cooperation. From your clergy and cooperation of the laity, so that together they know, love, and defend the church. What is it in the typed version? Flip it over. Number 33. What's it say?
Form your clergy and co-opt the laity so that together they know, love, and defend the church.
Yes. So gather the laity. So Michael Matt often calls for the gathering of the clans. Unite the clans. And I know where he's coming from, but you don't unite the clans around indult mass, that's for sure. That's just like self-destruction. I agree, we got to unite the clans, but in the Catholic truth, in the true doctrine, in the fight of tradition, and not this neocon stuff. So, anyway, among the laity, encourage the tertiaries. 34.
Let the Franciscan tertiaries be encouraged to love and practice Catholic liberty, equality, fraternity, and poverty.
Yeah, so poverty, chastity, obedience. The laity don't take vows of these, but they can observe the spirit of them. Poverty, don't be attached to the things of this world. Don't love them too much. Just use them as you need. Chastity, there is a chastity in marriage. A man must not think of another woman than his wife, and nor lust after any other woman than his own wife. Same with the wife. She must not desire any other man than her husband. So that's marital chastity. And then obedience to the church of all that she taught, obedience to husbands should obey their boss in all that's not sin. We obey our political leaders in all that's not sin. That's just Catholic common sense. We have to obey children, obey their parents. Of course, this has to be fostered in the home. And the wife obey her husband. Yeah. Oh, some of them have a heart attack when they hear that. But that's the way it is. And when you see a truly obedient wife, that doesn't mean the husband spits on her and treats her like a carpet. That's stupid. And most men don't do that. They love their wife and cherish her. And ought to, and must, and are ordered to. But when you see a good balance like that, the obedient wife who is strong in faith, loving, joyful, cheerful, and a good man who governs his house meekly, humbly, but firmly, it's beautiful to see. It's meant by God. And the children are happy. When the children see the love and the bond between their parents, it makes them strong. It makes them endure anything in this world. Especially the love between the husband and wife. I know families that have said that they never saw their parents fight, ever, or argue. That sounds like a dream marriage, doesn't it? But if they do fight and argue, it's in their room. Or they drive away and go for a walk. And that's how they should handle it.
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I've never seen my parents argue.
That's good. That's a blessing. That's a huge blessing. So, and that love of the parents, the children, the girls will find a good man like her father to marry, unless they go higher and marry our Lord, who's the best of all. And the men will learn to appreciate a wife who is like his mother, who loves the things of the home, takes the children God sends, is obedient to her husband, respects him, is cheerful, joyful. Feminists have a hard time swallowing this. They can't comprehend this because they're so feminist. It's in their head and it destroys them. They equate all obedience to your husband as a slavish, licking his boots, being kicked around like a dog. That's not what our Lord is talking about. And I don't deny there are men who might act this way. They're just idiots. They should be smacked. But, it's the modern world. People have lost their marbles. So you get extremes in all cases. But the Catholic teaching on the family is the way to go. And that's going to be our next encyclical, Casti Connubii, on Christian marriage. But let's finish this. So join the third order of the Franciscans. That's what he encourages. Keep the spirit of poverty, chastity, obedience. 35, guilds. Restore the medieval guilds. Let working men's guilds guide them in religion. Guard their interests. Shield them from fraud. So form the old guilds like co-ops that look after each other and have a Catholic spirit and Catholic doctrine to guide them, not like the unions that are often Freemasonic, the working unions. Youth, 4, 36, who's up?
Above all, guide and guard the young from any Freemason instruction or membership.
Yes, so it's not even tolerate some young to do it, but be watchful. No, it's absolute rejection of Freemasonry. Very beautiful. This is the Catholic Church in her glory. Everyone must pray. Conclusion, 37.
Let us then all pray God and unite our efforts to repel this overwhelming danger to mankind.
Yeah, so the Pope is blowing the Catholic trumpet. He's blowing the trumpet, warning all political leaders, church leaders, get rid of Masonry. Watch these rats, these scoundrels, these rabid dogs. Keep them away. Drive them out of town. That's where they should be, driven out of town. Apostolic Benediction 38 with my papal benediction to you all, given at Rome, April 20th, 1884. So this encyclical needs to be renewed in the Vatican. Clean out the Masons out of the Vatican. Clean out these rotten Masonic bishops and cardinals and popes and priests and restore Catholic tradition. That's the only goal, the only path. Okay, how much left to class?
4 minutes.
4. Okay, take this. So let's just get a quick introduction to the next encyclical. Casti Connubii on Christian Marriage, Pope Pius XI. When was it written?
December the 31st, 1930.
So, 1925, Pope Pius XI wrote the great encyclical on the social kingship of Christ, which we will yet do. So this is 5 years after, and by this time, the Masons have got the idea of divorce more popularized, more acceptable, and the dissolving of the family. 1930s, you have Hollywood bashing the father already, mocking fatherhood. Hollywood in the movies. And let's see, it's between the 2 world wars, so this is the period also of the Great Depression, right? 1930s. In the United States and Canada anyway. So Pius XI writes this to defend the holiness and sacredness of marriage. To our venerable brethren, patriarchs, primates, archbishops, bishops, and the other local ordinaries, that's local bishops, enjoying peace and communion with the Apostolic See. So that's all Catholic bishops who recognize the primacy of Peter, not the schismatics who reject it. Venerable brethren and beloved children, health and apostolic benediction. How great is the dignity of chaste wedlock, or chaste marriage. Venerable brethren, may be judged best from this that Christ our Lord, Son of the Eternal Father, having assumed the nature of fallen man, not only with his loving desire of compassing the redemption of our race, ordained it in an especial manner as the principle and foundation of domestic society, and therefore of all human intercourse or relationship, but also raised it to the rank of a truly and great sacrament of the new law, restored it to the original purity of its divine institution, and accordingly entrusted all its discipline and care to his spouse, the Church. So the dignity of holy marriage was willed by God, ennobled by Jesus Christ the King, and it gave to his Church to guide and instruct the married couples. So that's why he's writing this, because we need the marriage couples need guidance now, because men are tempted to drop their wives and go after other women. Women are tempted to drop their husbands, go after other men, or to stop having the children God sends, or all the other difficulties of marriage. Paragraph 2, Gavril.
In order, however, that amongst men of every nation and every age, the desired fruits may be obtained from this renewal of matrimony, it is necessary, first of all, that men's minds be illuminated with the true doctrine of Christ, regarding it.
Okay, what do they need to do? Learn what?
The true doctrine of Christ.
Yeah.
Regarding marriage.
So doctrine. You notice this always in the forefront of the papal encyclicals. So to have the true doctrine on marriage. Okay, we'll pick up next time. Adiutorium nostrum in nomine Domini.